On August 6, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The explosion killed somewhere between 70,000 and 80,000 people instantly, and tens of thousands more in the weeks and months that followed. One of the survivors was a 29-year-old naval engineer named Tsutomu Yamaguchi. He'd been in Hiroshima on a business trip. He was about 3 kilometers from the hypocenter when the bomb detonated. The blast ruptured his eardrums, temporarily blinded him, and burned the upper half of his body severely. He spent the night in an air raid shelter, badly injured, in a city that was no longer really a city. The next morning, he got up and went back to work. Specifically, he got on a train. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was from Nagasaki. He was expected back at his office. He was injured and bandaged, and his city had just been destroyed by a weapon no one had ever seen before. And he got on a train because he had to go back to work. He arrived in Nagasaki on August 8th. On August 9th, 1945, the United States dropped a second atomic bomb. This one fell on Nagasaki. Yamaguchi was at his office, reporting to his supervisor when it happened. He was describing the Hiroshima bombing, specifically trying to explain the scale of destruction a single bomb could cause, when the Nagasaki device detonated approximately 3 kilometers away, the same distance he had been standing from the Hiroshima bomb 3 days earlier. His supervisor, by multiple accounts, did not believe his story about Hiroshima. The idea that a single bomb could destroy an entire city was not something a rational person was prepared to accept in August of 1945. And then, the second bomb went off. Yamaguchi survived that one too. He was already burned and bandaged from Hiroshima. The Nagasaki blast temporarily blinded him again. He lost his hair. His wounds worsened. He spent weeks recovering from injuries he had been sustaining at this point for 2 consecutive atomic bombings. And then he went home to his family, who had also survived Nagasaki. And he lived to the age of 93. There is a term in Japanese, Niju Hibakusha, which translates roughly as doubly bomb-affected person. The Japanese government, for decades, was reluctant to formally acknowledge the existence of people who had survived both bombs, partly because it complicated the legal framework around atomic bomb survivor benefits, and partly, one suspects, because the very existence of such people raised questions the government was not eager to answer. Yamaguchi spent most of his adult life not talking about what had happened to him in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He worked as a translator. He raised a family. He was, by his own description, plagued by the experience for decades. The burns, the radiation sickness, the recurring health problems, the memory of what both cities looked like in the aftermath.
In 2006, at the age of 90, he began speaking publicly. He testified to the United Nations. He wrote a memoir. He became an outspoken advocate for nuclear disarmament, arguing with the particular authority of someone who had been present for the only 2 times nuclear weapons have ever been used in warfare, both times 3 kilometers from the detonation point. He was officially certified by the Japanese government as a Niju Hibakusha in 2009. He was the only person to receive that designation during his lifetime. In total, the government estimated that approximately 165 people survived both bombings. Most of them did not seek official recognition. Many were afraid of the social stigma. Atomic bomb survivors in Japan faced significant discrimination for decades, including difficulty finding employment and marriage partners due to fears about radiation and hereditary illness. Yamaguchi died in January 2010 of stomach cancer at the age of 93. His doctors confirmed that he had lived with the physical effects of radiation exposure for 64 years. There is something in this story that resists easy framing. Yamaguchi himself described his survival not as luck, but as a burden, something he carried rather than celebrated. He did not consider himself fortunate. He considered himself a witness, and he believed that being a witness came with an obligation to speak. His testimony is essentially the only first-person account of what it felt like to be in the radius of an atomic bomb and to survive, and then to be in the radius of a second atomic bomb 3 days later and to survive again. He described the first bomb as a flash of white light so intense it seemed to wipe out everything. He described the second bomb from his office in Nagasaki as feeling familiar. He said he recognized it immediately. He knew what it was before anyone around him understood what was happening. He knew because he had already seen it. The number of people who have experienced a nuclear detonation at close range and lived to describe it is vanishingly small. The number who experienced two is, as far as official records go, 1. Tatsumu Yamaguchi got on a train after Hiroshima because he had to go back to work. He survived Nagasaki 3 days later. He spent 64 years carrying what he had seen. And then, at 90, he started talking. The least we can do is listen. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.